As our core is our foundation. It's everything to our posture and our balance and being able to stay stable and mobile as we age and get through life. We make the mistake of thinking that our core is just our outer abdominal muscles, the six-pack muscles that you can either see or that are on the outside of your abdominal wall. And that's certainly part of your core, but I'd say it's probably the least important part of your core. Your abdominal muscles, your six-pack muscles, are really responsible for being able to sit up. And that's important, but there's a whole lot more going on in your core that tends to get overlooked. So beneath our six-pack muscles, we have our transverse abdominis muscle, which is like our corset muscle. It's deep inside, kind of runs like this, and that's our foundation. That's what keeps us stable and upright. And then we got our obliques on the sides here that twist and turn us. So our core actually goes beyond just our tummy, includes everything from the hips all the way to our shoulders. So we've also got our gluteal group. We got the muscles of the low back, which really tend to get overlooked in a lot of training, and that's important to remember, because often, especially those of us who work at a desk and sit, our backs get really weak, right? So a lot of the core training that I'm going to show you is going to focus on the posterior part of your body, which is going to help bring you back into alignment and create some strength back here that's going to help keep you strong and upright. So we got the low back, we got the mid back and shoulders, and I'm going to show you 5 essential moves that strengthen all of those muscle groups. I'm going to give you something for the hips, something for the transverse abdominis, something for the low back, something for the shoulders, and then of course we're going to finish with the classic plank, and I'm going to teach you the form cues so that you can get the most out of your plank. The plank works the whole unit. So with that said, let's get started. Like I said, I've got 5 moves, and I'm going to give you variations of each one so that you can start where you're at. So try them out and pick the one that is challenging but doable for you, and work on it. Work on it for 2 or 3 weeks. Practice each move maybe 5 times a day, and then come back in a couple of weeks and see if you're ready to move on to the next level. And then as you're able to do all 5 at the third level that I'll show you today, then you're ready to try something more challenging. All right, so let's first get down on our mat. You don't need any equipment for this, by the way, just a mat and your body is all that you need. And I'm going to first start by showing you how to identify or to find your transverse abdominis, that deep corset muscle below your six-pack muscles. So you can lay on your back with your knees bent, your feet flat on the floor. And the first thing we want to do is get our body in the proper alignment. So I want you to take the heels of your hands and place them right on your hip bones. You should feel bony prominences sticking up there. And then you want to point your fingers towards your pubic bone, your index fingers, and your thumbs together. So you've made like a triangle over top of your pelvis. And in that triangle, you are holding a hot bowl of soup. And you don't want that hot bowl of soup to spill on you in either direction. So check here. Is your triangle flat? Is it parallel to the ground, or is it tilted one way or the other? So play around with the angle of your pelvis until you come to a flat pelvis. And what you should find is there's a little bit of space under your low back. The natural curve of your spine is protected. That's the position we always want to assume when we're working on our back. Old school ab workouts would tell you to press your low back into the mat. That's no longer recommended because that's not the correct alignment for your back, and it's going to cause you to have problems. So we want to protect the curve of our spine. All right, from here, I want to teach you to find that transverse abdominis muscle. So we'll call that TVA. What I want you to do is first take a big breath in to prepare. And as you exhale, I want you to think about drawing up the pelvic floor like you're doing a Kegel. So pull everything up and then pull the belly button down towards your spine and the whole unit pull it up. So it's like you're making the letter J. You pull the navel down and then swoop everything up. So we'll try that again. Breath in. Exhale, draw the navel down and pull the pelvic floor and the whole unit up. Inhale, relax. And on the next exhale, try again. Next exhale, try again. You should just feel a gentle tightening. You can kind of see how it looks from here. And don't worry at all if you don't get it. Sometimes we don't know where these muscles are. They need a little bit of waking up. So even the fact that you're thinking about it and mentally going through the motions, even if the muscles don't do what you want them to do yet, it is okay. Just focus on the breathing and set the intention that you're going to pull the navel up and in and make that letter J with your belly button. So big J with the belly button. And don't worry if the muscles don't perform. Now, if you're getting it, and if you're not, just keep with it, right? This is your starting point. If you've got it and you're ready to move on, the next step is to take your breath in, exhale, draw it all in, and then hold it for the next inhale. Hold it in while you inhale. And then exhale, release. Inhale, prepare. Exhale, engage the TVA. Inhale, hold. And exhale, release. And keep trying that while I tell you something else. So this exercise we're doing here now, this breathing exercise, you can do this in any position. So you can practice this while you're cooking dinner, stirring a pot, practice engaging the TVA. You can do it while you're driving or sitting at your office chair, right? So, just throw it into your day every here and there. And the more you practice, the easier it's going to get. Now, if you've got that and that's feeling fine, the next level is to add some movement while the TVA is engaged. So level 3 here is you inhale, prep, exhale, draw it in. And then as you're holding it, we're going to lift a toe and set it down. Lift a toe on the inhale and exhale, set it down. And then you take a rest breath, let it all go. Inhale, prep. Exhale, engage. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. And release. And I'll leave it at that. There are progressions from there, but work on those 3 things. So if you're getting to the point where you can lift both legs easily and keep that core engaged, then the next step would be to lift 1, lift 2, and go from there. All right, next up. You stay here on your back. I was just checking my notes to see what's next. So that's the TVA. So through all of the core exercises that we're doing, having that engagement and knowing where the transverse abdominis is going to be beneficial. So that's why we start with that breathing, being able to find that muscle, know how to engage it so that we can move on to the rest. So I want you to try to keep about 60% of that engagement as we move through the next exercises, if you can. If you can't, then it's something to work towards. So the next exercise I'm going to show you is a really great one for the glutes, the hips, and the low back. And it's just a bridge. You've probably seen these before. So the breathing is important as we do this one too. You're going to inhale to get ready. And then as you exhale, you're going to lift one vertebrae at a time, starting at your tailbone, and lift, 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 till your shoulder blades are on the mat. You don't need to go any higher than that, or you're going to put pressure on your neck. And then inhale to lower back down. Exhale, lift. And we want to keep our thighs parallel, like train tracks. The knees have a tendency to want to splay out. Keep the thighs parallel and back down. When you get to the top of the movement, you can give your glutes a little squeeze. But watch that you don't do a pelvic thrust with your squeeze. So you come up, squeeze the glutes, but don't thrust your pelvis. So you do about 8 or 10 of those. And if that is feeling easy for you, the next step is to hold that bridge up and march it. So you might try 1 rep at a time. So you come up, march, march, and back down. Or you might hold it up and do a few marches and come back down. So choose what's challenging but doable. That's level 2. And then level 3 is to do 1 leg at a time. So you would take your resting leg, reach it up in the air, and then your working leg is going to go like so. And that's going to give you a little more quad action, which isn't really part of your core, but doesn't hurt to get a little bit of leg work in there. And you're going to really feel those glutes. And you're also going to really work your low back, because your low back is working to hold your hips square. You want to keep your hips square throughout this. You don't want to be twisting and turning in either direction, which is what will happen if your back is not strong. So you would do 8 or 10 on either side. All right, so those are your first 2 moves. Then you're going to spin over and come onto your hands and knees. And I'll show you something for your whole back here. So this is tabletop position, and we set up with our hands directly under our shoulders. So there's a straight line from shoulder to wrist. Your fingers, your thumb and first finger make a letter L. So watch that your hands aren't turned out or in. Your index finger is pointing straight at the top of your mat. Then your knees are right under your hips. So I have a strong base of support here. And then my back is nice and flat. So if you have a mirror nearby, it's good to check that you're not like swaying your back or rounding your back. You want nice and flat. Try and pull that navel up and in, just as we did at the beginning. And hold that 60% engagement as we perform the next exercise, which is called a bird dog. So level 1 here, if this is new to you, you're going to try holding your whole body still and keeping your hips nice and steady and square as you take your right leg straight back. And what you want to watch for is that there's no twisting or turning of the hips. You stay nice and still in that tabletop position as your leg goes back and forward. And you would do that on both sides. And notice any differences from side to side. Nothing to judge, just kind of notice. We usually have one side that's stronger than the other. Okay, so if that's feeling good and you're ready for level 2, then the next level is to drag that toe back, make sure that the hips are nice and square, then lifting that toe. And making sure that the hips stay square as the toe gets lifted. And whatever level you're at here, you might do about 5 on each side. And if that's feeling good and you're ready for more, then the next step is to take that leg back, lift, make sure everything's square, and then the opposite arm goes out. So I've got my right leg and my left arm reaching up. I'm looking straight ahead. Bring it back in, out, lift, reach. And if at any time the hips start to twist or turn, take it down 1 level. Good. All right, next up. For your shoulders and upper back. This is really great for your posture. If you work at a desk at all, this is a must-do in your life. And there's really not levels for this one. This is just one exercise that all of us should be doing. So we're laying down on our tummy, pulling our navel up away from the mat. So we've got that 60% engagement in our core. You don't have to have it super tight, just engaged. Arms are out overhead, making like a letter Y with your thumbs up. And you can have your head right down on the mat to protect your neck. I just keep mine up so that you can hear me, but your head should be resting down and your neck relaxed. And then all we're going to do is take our arms and lift. Lift from the shoulders, keeping the rest of your body still. And you should feel that in the upper back. And I do about 8 or 10 reps of that. Then take the arms out to the side. Thumbs are up. We're making a letter T. And lift and lower here. That one should be a little bit more freely moving. And then the third one is to take your arms at your side, palms down, so your thumbs are away from your body, pinkies are touching your thighs. Squeeze the upper arms into your back, and then like a penguin, lift and lower the arms. So no matter what level you're at, you're going to do all 3 of those moves. And I would do those a few times a week, 8 or 10 reps of each. And it's really going to help pull your shoulders back into alignment, because when we work at a desk, we tend to round forward and get tight in here and weak in the back. So this is going to help to bring everything back. Last move is our plank. The plank, when done properly, works everything from the knees to the shoulders. So I'm going to give you some new form cues that you may not have heard before that are going to help you get the most out of your plank. And I'll show you 3 levels for your plank. Actually, I'll show you 4. So the first would be, if you're starting out and you have really not built up a lot of core strength yet, you can do your plank up against the wall. I didn't think about this when I set up the camera, so forgive the angle, but you could have your hands against a wall and then step away. And I'll show you the cues in a second. But that would be level 1. Level 2 is to come down to your knees with your hands directly under your shoulders, just like we did in that bird dog. Excuse me. And then level 3 would be up on your toes, on your hands. And then 4th level would be on your elbows. I find the elbows a little bit harder. Okay, so you pick where you want to start. I'm going to show it from the knees, and then I'll show you from the toes. So hands are right under the shoulders, and I'm in kind of a push-up position to start. I want to make sure that I'm not in tabletop, I'm not rounded. I want to actually do an anterior pelvic tilt for this. So I tip my pelvis forward, and I pull my shoulders back and press my chest forward. So whatever position you're in, think about pulling the shoulders back, squeezing your shoulder blades together, press the chest forward, then pull the navel up and in. You've got that core engagement. Squeeze your glutes, and that should activate every muscle in your trunk. You should be feeling everything. If you want more of a challenge, that's where you can go up to your toes, but it's the same cues. You pull the shoulders back, chest forward, navel up and in, glutes are squeezed, and you lift the kneecaps a little bit too. Press your heels back. And hold that for about 10, 15 seconds, up to 30 to a minute as you get stronger. Same exact cues if you're doing it from the wall. Chest forward, shoulders back, tummy engaged, glutes squeezed together. So those are your 5 moves. Feel free to rewind and go through that again. And just come back to this video and practice over